Alright, y'all, this is a map of Port Hudson. This is the Mississippi River, major bend in the river right here. Current is forced around this outer bend. This bluff line right here along the river is about 90 foot above the river, which Port Hudson was in the bend right here. A major Confederate encampment and earthworks. This outer perimeter right here is earthworks that surround the town of Port Hudson. There are trenches that start way over here and go all the way through here for about 4 or 5 miles. Cannons, certain cannons along the way. Right here along, like I was saying, along the river here was a bluff line of about 80-90 foot. Across the river it's around 20-30 foot above sea level, and this is about 80 or 90 foot. Over in this curve, this high bluff line made it a big advantage of cannons shooting down on the ships, and we will be hunting over here towards the lower part. A lot of action still right here. A lot of the gunships didn't go much past this because of all the cannons. All those little areas right there, or where cannons were, you can see them marked. But anyway, a big battlefield here. Well, good hunting. This is kind of about where we'll be, up in these deep ravines up in here. Alright, y'all, this is Digging Deep South. After hunting season, a friend of mine owns some prime real estate and close to the battlefield. We're on a bluff line right over this little hill right here. Is about a 90-foot drop down to the Mississippi River bottom. Had steamboats and war boats, battle boats coming right here, all in the river right here, shelling Port Hudson. Port Hudson's a couple miles that way, but we are on the river line, the ridge line going to Port Hudson. Took a little walk down the hill. Property owner will show me a couple little ridge lines I'm gonna hunt, and we were coming back up the hill, laying on the ground without the metal detector, surface find. Fragment of a cannonball. That's a good start. But a very old area. Give you a little shot of where we're at. You can see where it drops off over there, river bottom. We're fixing to get to hunting. Thanks for watching. We're feeling lucky today. Alright, y'all, as you can see right here, it's a major drop off. About 90 foot down into the river bottom. You can actually see the Mississippi River over there. The fortifications at Port Hudson were built in a bend of a river on this high bluff line. So when the ships would come up the river, the current would force them more into the curve where the forts and stuff were built. And that's why it was such a stronghold. It was actually a 48-day siege, the longest siege of the Civil War. And we're on that bluff line. Found that fragment of the cannonball just right over there walking down the hill. We're going to get to looking. This bluff line does continue though for about 8 miles that way. Port Hudson is probably about 3 miles that way on this bluff line. So this one long straight bluff line. I'll show you a map a little later, give you a better idea. Alright. Yeah, very rough hunting. Things could be anywhere out here. Okay, y'all. Been in the woods about 15 minutes. Way up there where them trees are is about where the vehicle is parked. I came down that big hill, met this little creek right here. You know, have no idea where I'm going. Just, you know, just looking. So much land to cover where the soldiers could have been camped. Found that fragment of that cannonball. There's a lot of shells being shot from the ships at this area. Like I said, it's like 6 miles of bluff line headed along this Mississippi River, and you know, just going, having that feeling. You know, I see some big chunks of trash over there, and kind of staying away from that kind of push pile stuff. You can tell it was pushed over there, and staying more on the bottom of the area. You know, having that feeling, man, how long am I going to go until I find a little area? Well, just got a signal. Look right there. There's one here, there's another one. And there's mosquitoes here too, but it's like a nice 3-ringer. Alright y'all, this little area right here is about level with the river bottom. When the river does come up real high, it floods up in here. We get plenty of backwater. Kind of found a little piece of fragment of the cannonball coming down that hill from them big trees over there coming down. Went around here, jumped this little creek, found that bullet over there on the other side of that little tree laying down. Jumped over here, getting some old trash signals, some old tin. Starting to go up here, gonna cut across right here and jump over there to some higher hills. Surface fine. Right here, a fragment of a cannonball again. See it right there. Oh man, this is a mortar round that was shot off a ship. Look at the thickness of that. Yep. Alright, we're going to keep on looking. Good little find. Maybe we'll find a whole cannonball or shell today. Alright y'all. Nice. Found that last shell fragment over there on the other side of the ravine. I done jumped back over here where the car was. Toted that big ass piece all the way to the car. Had to take my shirt off, I was sweating. You can see it's about a 60-foot drop right here. Continued on. I'm on the side of this big hill. I just gotta come in, you know, rough terrain. Going up and down, and you know. What's going on?
How you doing?
Well, I was just making a little video. I'm talking in the video right now. I fell on.
Having YouTubers, Cajun Coin Hunter, and follow my main man Digging Deep South. Enjoy the ads.
Yeah, I found.
Just put out my video from yesterday's hunt.
Yeah.
So, you doing any good?
Well, I found a mortar fragment, about as good size of your hand and about 2 inches thick. It looks like.
Outstanding.
I found a nice 3-ringer. I found it.
Man, you're on top of them. I might come meet you this afternoon if you're still out there.
I found that other fragment right there by the vehicle, and
Can you match it up with the first one you found?
Oh no, it's 2 different ones.
Okay.
My book
That's good.
My book at the house said they shot 6,500 mortar rounds at Port Hudson.
Probably more than that. Yeah. That's documented.
But
Found the undocumented one.
Right now I'm holding a 69 caliber. Looks like a infield, been shot.
Wow.
It's short and fat. Yep.
All right. Well, I will wish you luck and give me a shout out this afternoon.
I sure will.
Maybe we can get together soon.
Okay.
All right, digging deep.
Later.
Always digging deep is the digging freak.
I like that one.
Right. Later, buddy.
All right. Bye. Alright y'all, just found another little find. I was just talking to Cajun Coin Hunter right down there on the other side of this little tree right here. I found that bullet. Just came up the hill, just made it to the very top of this hill. And just found a fuse. A fuse of maybe a shingle shell or fuse of some type of artillery shell. Real nice find there, made of brass. Screwed in where they put the powder in. Right over that little cliff there. It's about 80 foot. And that's Mississippi River, where the Mississippi River used to be. It's moved a few miles away from these bluff lines, but this, at the time of the Civil War, this is where it was going on. You could see some water way out there in the distance. Alright, like I said, it's straight down right here. Try to make it that way. I'm gonna search a little bit more right here though, for sure. All right, y'all, digging deep south. Another find. You can kind of see the kind of ground I'm hunting. Pretty rough. But I just made another find right here on the ground. Didn't even have to dig. Right here, it's another big old piece of a fragment of a mortar round. Well, pretty good size one here. Biggest one today. That's a hunk of iron there. That's pretty thick cannonball there. Hopefully we'll find a whole one. Then we'll take the rest of the day to pack it out. Good thing the car is only about 100 yards away, but that's a long ways to carry this. Okay, y'all, I made it to this old river bottom where the Mississippi River used to go. Many steamboats and battleships were right here firing upon these big cliffs. We were up there a little while ago. These cliffs could, like I said, continue for about 6 miles, 7 miles this way and make a bend, and that's where the town of Port Hudson was. But I'm finding shell fragments downstream from Port Hudson. They were firing all in here. They cleaned this area out. And then the troops moved in and camped here. We had Confederates here. Lewis and Clark back in 1699 actually wrote of these bluffs called the Milky Bluffs. First high land you see from the Gulf of Mexico. Indians were living here back then, but got plenty of history here. People moved out of here around 1920s, and it's rough terrain. As the Mississippi River moved further away from Port Hudson, all the ports along down from Port Hudson kind of fell through because the river was there no longer. So time forgotten. Little cypress tree right there. Thanks for watching. Mississippi River, y'all. Give y'all like a little history lesson. You can see how these bluffs start right here, but they continue on that way. Mississippi River used to go that way along the side of these bluffs, and then it made a curve. Well, that's where the town of Port Hudson was. It was a stronghold. Like I said, you know, there's a big curve in the river, and the boats would be forced towards the current side of the bluffs, and it was hard to pass through here. But just giving you an idea of what these bluff lines are. These are the bluffs right here that Lewis and Clark talked about. First highland they seen from the Gulf of Mexico. And we're about 15 miles above Baton Rouge. Many miles still to the Gulf. They say that 100,000 years ago they had a huge sandstorm that blew for like 10,000 years. Big sand dunes and piled up over here on this side of the river. And since this side of the river, the elevation is a lot higher, and when the sand was formed on top of the higher hills, the type of sand is very, it erodes very easy. So we have these deep gullies and ravines on this side of the river. If you go to the other side, they have levees on that side, and the ground's about 30 foot below sea level on the other side of the levee. But over here on this side, where I live in Port Hudson, we're about 100 foot above sea level. We got a bald eagle that lives somewhere up in those trees. We might get a chance to see him. It's been a little while since I made a find. Been doing some traveling. Made it down to the river. Starting to come up this gully right here. Real rough stuff. the size of this freaking pine tree. It's not too tall though. But anyway, right below the bottom of this old pine tree, we back on them. Looks like a nice 3-ringer. Pretty. Real nice. Had a good iron signal, sounded pretty deep, sounded pretty big. There's a hole. And there's a shell fragment. Cannonball that come out of it. Another one of the big thick mortar rounds shot out of a ship from the river right there. We'll get a little away from the vehicle with this one. Just found this 3-ringer right here. 4th one of the day. I'm pretty sure why I found it. Just right over here. That's the reason why I found it right here. From the period, that's old. Too heavy to carry out. Got about 100 of them at home anyway. It's thick in here, real thick. Alright y'all, I was going to show you that I'm at a little place where I'm taking a little lunch with a hell of a view. And just found an old Colt 44 bullet. Been about 30 minutes since I found something. We on the move today. We probably went a couple miles already. Hunting this new area. Everywhere we go though, we're finding something. See what we find next. Alright y'all, just found some kind of flat button. We'll clean it up. It looks like it might have a shank on it. Found one a little earlier too.
Alright y'all, here's some of my finds made on the hunt. I couldn't make anything out on this button here, but it's definitely old. That flat button. I was surprised when I pulled all these bullets out. Found quite a few bullets and parts of that fuse. LA Relic Hunter. You might be able to name this one right off. I'll check on it. And this one right here I think has a tail. Confederates for a couple miles away. I think this is like a sharpshooter bullet. Somebody shot from a long ways away. He packed it real good. Had a big charge behind it. It definitely is Confederate. And onto the shell fragment. We actually made a circle back a few hours later and tried to pick up one of the fragments, and actually couldn't find it, couldn't remember what ridge it was on, so we're missing one big one. And another big one I found I just left in the woods because it was too deep in the woods. But here, the ones I brung out are 3 different sizes. I haven't looked up information on it yet, but all some nice pieces of cannonball. And this is the Big Daddy. I left 2 of these in the woods, but that is very thick, very thick. Yeah. But appreciate y'all watching.